Howdy, y'all. Wyatt here with Cowboy Whiskey Adventures, and I got a bottle review for you. Now, it's something that you can see on a shelf pretty much anywhere, so that's what we're going to talk about today, right after this. Howdy, y'all. Welcome back in. Now, I went on a bourbon hunt here recently with Desert Benny, and we got some new bottles, and one of them is the Heaven and Hill Bottle and Bond 7-year. Now, I was kind of excited about it because I heard that it's really close to the new Old Fitzgerald that's going to be coming out here very shortly in Washington State. I know a lot of people have reviewed that on YouTube in the bourbon TikTok community and stuff like that. So I was looking for something that might be kind of close to it. Now, not exact, but it does come out of the same distillery, which is the Heaven Hill Distillery. Now, a little bit of interesting facts about Heaven Hill is that they're probably the biggest distributor of Bottle and Bond in the United States. A little history behind the Heaven Hill Distillery, without getting into too much detail, is it started placing its barrels in whiskey back in 1935. So whenever you start out a new distillery, there's a lot of costs and things involved. So of course they got an investor, but they ended up buying that investor out in 1937, and they didn't put any actual whiskey or bourbon out of the barrels into bottles until 1939. So they waited a full 5 years before they put theirs out because of the Bottle and Bond Act.
What are you, fucking stupid?
And they wanted to make sure that they had the best juice in their bottles, and they became very popular. I mean, they were like the best-selling whiskey out there in the 1940s. So jump ahead to 1996 when their Rickhouse number 1 caught on fire to what they believed was a lightning strike. The winds were really bad at that time in 96. And it spread to a total of 7 rickhouses in their distillery, pretty much burning them down. Now, can you imagine seeing like a burning barrel of whiskey rolling down the hill at you? That would be pretty horrifying if you ask me. They were assisted by a bunch of other distilleries in order to get back in line because they lost over 93,000 barrels that day. They purchased another distillery in Louisville, Kentucky, which is the one that everyone knows about today. And I want to go on that tour. I've seen a lot of tours myself, but that's one that I'm really looking forward to seeing. So let's talk about the bottle, shall we? So the bottle, the Heaven and Hill Bottle and Bond, Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, and right here in big red bold print, it says 7 years old. So there's a lot of history behind the bottle here. It actually has the original distillery penciled in on here. I think it's a really cool bottle. I like it a lot. And I mean, wow. Now, in Heaven Hill's Distillery, you have a lot of other brands that are there, okay? They include Rittenhouse, Elijah Craig. We all know that one. Larceny, as well as the Henry McKenna, which I have up here. And let's see, what else do they have? They have the Old Fitzgerald, which I'm really looking forward to, and the Parker's Heritage Collection. Once again, they're the single biggest distributor of the Bottle and Bond to date. Now, this bottle itself retails, or the MSRP for this is about $49. Here in Washington State, it runs about, well, it varies. So I've seen it as high as $70 plus the Washington State Hill tax. Wow, that just popped right off there really easy before I even got all the plastic off of there. And I've seen it more recently here, probably right around $55 at like Total Wine and More. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this bottle a little bit more is because it's one that can be found pretty easily here in Washington State. And since that's where I live, that's what we want to talk about, right? Oh, now, actually, before I crack that open or take a sip of that, important note, make sure that before you get into any whiskey that's a little bit higher in proof, and yes, it's a bottle and bond, so it's 100 proof. If you're not used to that, you probably want to start off with like something a little lower, like in the 80s or even the low 90s, just to kind of warm your palate up a little bit. So today that will be, yes, my favorite. And I get a lot of crap over it, but it's the TX whiskey bottle. Because I like TX. So of course, I'll take a little shot of that first. And I really like this. These bottles, they're special commemorative bottles like these here. You can only get at the TX distillery. So, I don't know what it is, but I really enjoy TX. And I have. It's probably one of the first whiskeys that I had that I really enjoyed. And I started off with a lot of the lower proofs before I started coming up in the proofage or the ABVs, just because I didn't want to screw my palate up too bad and start off with like 120 or the 115 proof along those lines. So yes, it is a Texas whiskey, and yes, I thoroughly enjoy most Texas whiskeys. There's one that I don't like too much, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. I wouldn't say I don't like it. I would just say it's not my jam. That's pretty good. We'll go with that. All right. Swirl test, of course. Everybody does it. I know I'm not that big of an aficionado. But the viscosity of it's really good. Sticks to the glass quite well, like most 100 proofs, bottle and bonds do. I get kind of a candied fruit off the nose. Maybe a hint of cinnamon. Not much. But I definitely like the smell of it. And I've found that most of the stuff out of the Heaven Hill Distillery, I kind of like it. It suits my palate, I think, more because it's along the sweet side. And if you followed me at all along my whiskey journey since I started a little bit over a year ago, you'll find that I kind of teeter more towards the sweeters. Not weeders, but sweeters. Does that make sense? Sweeter, weeder? I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to drag this out. Yeah. Does have a good smell. Clean the palate real quick. All right. All right, let's put it on the tongue. Definitely warmth, little cinnamon. Maybe like a toffee peanut kind of. You ever open a box of Cracker Jacks, like just freshly open it, and then you get that kind of that first smell? I don't know so much if it smells like that, but it's kind of like when I taste it, I get that sensation myself. It lasts on the tongue for a little bit, so I like that. Man, that's really good. Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. This is definitely going to go on my. I have a bunch of shelves back here, so I've got all the stuff I really like, all the stuff that I like, and then all the stuff that I'm not too crazy about. So this is going to go on the really like shelf. I would say in conclusion, if you're looking for a bottle and bond bourbon that is kind of a great all-around bourbon whiskey, it's not low proof, it's not too high, it's aged 7 years, so it's right in that sweet spot. Is from what I can find, a lot of the distillers talk about, between 6 and 8 years is the sweet spot for a bourbon to age, and especially a Kentucky bourbon. So in Texas, I don't think 6 years would. Whew, that'd be some dark stuff. But the color of it, the flavor of it, the smell of it, to me, this is a fantastic bottle of whiskey. If you are looking for a recommendation on a bourbon whiskey for any occasion, to me, you can't beat this. For the price, for the age, for the flavor, for the nose, even the bottle is fantastic. Wow. Heaven and Hill, bottled in bond, 7 year. This is a fantastic bourbon whiskey. Wow. I'm going to have a little more of that. I think I am. Goodness gracious. I like that a lot. I have done quite a bit of research on the Heaven Hill Distillery and the whole history behind it and the Five Brothers. And I think that's one of the things that I like the most, is finding out the history of the American spirit. And I mean, bourbon, it's American, you can't beat that. I absolutely love this. This is a fantastic bottle. Wow. The Mash and Drum talked about this. I watched one of his videos on it, and he talked it up quite a bit, which is part of the reason that I went and found this bottle. He said it was readily available. Wow. If you're looking for information on whiskey, bourbon, there are a lot of great YouTubers out there. There are a lot of great people out there in the whiskey community. It is a social thing, and I truly believe that. Wow, what a great bottle. Hey, this is Wyatt with Cowboy Whiskey Adventures saying we'll see you in the daylight. Cheers, my friend. Now that is a good whiskey.